Good morning, fellow delegates and alumni. Today, Environment and Development RT would like to present to you about what we have done so far. I'm I, and I will give a brief overview of our RT discussions and activities. Rika will talk about the water crisis, and Takuya and Gio about imbalance between environment, economics, and human life. Ryu and Victoria will speak to you about sustainability. Last but not least, he or she will conclude our presentation. In Japa Daily RT time, we have decided to focus on the environment in May and economics in June, so that we're on the same page and have basic understanding of the subject. In regards to the environmental issues, we have discussed agricultural modernization, electrification, recycling water bottles, and food waste. As for economics, we have included the dilemma in the tobacco industry, population issues, and economic disparity. In August, we have incorporated debates considering both environment and economic aspects of the issues. We also had online field trips to listen to the experts and have deeper understanding of the matters, which includes JICA and Ministry of Environment. In order for us to gain not only deep understanding but also broad knowledge and avoid our biases in the discussion, we had joint RT meetings. In addition to that, we had discussions about environment and a certain major or program of educational institutions, which was randomly picked and discussed how that relates and influences each other. The majors include psychology, linguistics, religion, and geography. In Amidala side, they have discussed about Green New Deal, deforestation, rising sea levels, microplastics, and clean energy. In addition to that, they also had discussion about whether carbon dioxide is evil or not, credibility of renewable energy, and so on. In joint RT meetings within environmental RT, we had talked about food loss and waste, Paris Agreement, and definitions of developed and developing countries.
Hi, I'm Rika, and I would like to explain our first topic for the main conference, that is water crisis. In our roundtable, we define the water crisis to be first, having few access to fresh water which is necessary to maintain a certain level of our lives, and second, discharging polluted water with waste and the chemicals from agriculture and the industrial districts, and poisoning river and ocean. In many cases, the water crisis is triggered due to population growth, climate change, food production, power generation, and so on. When it comes to water pollution, the main causes are drainage of toxic chemicals from factory and runoff of fertilizer and pesticides, which are harmful for the human body and the environment. Since water pollution is the issue both Japan and the United States have in common, we decided to have a discussion on this matter. For the discussion, we set two questions. First, who should take responsibility for water pollution? And the second, what approaches the United States and Japan have taken. For the first question, many of us believe that manufacturing companies, consumers, and the government of each country are responsible, and the cooperation of company and the government could lead us to a solution. Some of us also mentioned the consumers have directly induced water pollution by using plastic products such as plastic bottles, and some of them dumped it into the river and ocean as if nature can digest and remove it permanently. To deal with this issue, what we could do is to choose alternatives to plastic bottles, including ones made of glass, though it is hard to recycle them properly and to carry since glass is heavier than plastics. Lastly, for the second question, we mainly talked from the perspectives of consumers and the companies. We've also found there's a way to prevent used oil from draining by bringing it to collection points in some parts of the United States. Yet, for manufacturing companies, it seems hard to work on the water pollution even when they have done researches because they prioritize the profit.
Our second topic is the causes of imbalance among human life, environment, and economy. Our first question is, do you think there is an imbalance among human life, environment, and economy? Most of us thought there is an imbalance among these. There are mainly two opinions. At first, we want to develop the economy by using resources such as fossil fuel. But resources are limited. Second, when we talk about the imbalance, we are usually prioritizing economic development. It means we are not focused enough on environmental issues. That's why the general population can't focus on environmental issues. That might cause damage related to imbalance among these. Our next question is, do you think we should fix the cause of imbalance in the first place? We believe that imbalance is a necessary evil, and at the same time, we believe it needs to be fixed in some way. The reason why we believe that imbalance is a necessary evil is that it is impossible to protect 100% of the environment through economic development, and that development will ultimately lead to environmental protection. The reason why we need to fix the imbalance to a certain extent is that developed countries such as Japan and the United States have a more stable life than developing countries, so they can shift to environmental protection. If developing countries aim for economic growth, while developed countries focus on environmental protection, the imbalance between the environment, economic development, and human life in the world as a whole can be corrected.
Moreover, we discussed the extent that one could downgrade their lifestyle as a result of prioritizing environmental protection. Most of the delegates mentioned that they would accept the downgrade in order to protect the environment. Furthermore, there were delegates that argued that pursuing economic growth and protecting the environment is compatible through the advancement in technology and peer pressure from other nations. However, there were delegates that said that it was impossible for them to downgrade their lifestyle in the first place. They pointed out that whether renewable energy could displace fossil fuel is questionable, and the difficulty to do so would make it hard for individuals to maintain their current lifestyle. Moving on, the purpose of this part of the discussion was to challenge our pre-existing ideas and to come up with alternative explanations about the negative effects of the overemphasis on environmental protection or economic growth. One delegate mentioned that there is a concern that overemphasis towards environmental protection would heighten tension in the realm of international politics. He feared that forcing nations to pursue environmental protection equally would decrease the will of nations to be committed in foreign affairs due to the constraints caused by environmental regulations, causing a destabilization in the world order.
What is a sustainable society? Well, the general consensus in our discussions of the goal of sustainability is what is needed for humans to live on Earth permanently. There are many aspects to the phrase a sustainable society, and those aspects include economics, society, and environment. In an environmental point of view, a sustainable society is when closed system can occur with zero net waste. An example of this can be the carbon cycle. Right now, we are not sustainable regarding a carbon cycle because our output of carbon is in excess compared to the intake, resulting in carbon dioxide waste. In the economic aspect, a sustainable society is reached when corporations and countries can rely on current resources. Our example for the economic aspect is how different nations receive their energy. In many countries, fossil fuel is imported, and thus these nations must rely on other nations for their supply of energy. Thus, this weakens their national security and makes the nation's economy unsustainable. In terms of society, a sustainable society would be reached when individuals in the population are equitable and overall happiness of the population is tolerable.
I'm going to talk about the factors of sustainable society. There are three main factors that will contribute to the sustainable society downgrading your lifestyle, increasing satisfaction mentally using renewable energy. The first factor is downgrading your lifestyle. As economic growth, our lifestyle became better and better. However, there are some opinions that our lifestyle is too good for ourselves. Using trains instead of using cars, spending not so much on fashion are some of the concrete plans to accomplish downgrading our lifestyle, although they are radical plans to some extent. In fact, there are some people who need cars to commute or whose hobby is enjoying fashion. The second factor is increasing our satisfaction mentally. If we downgrade our life, we might feel regretful to give up our convenience and pleasure of today's lifestyle, but if we can increase our satisfaction mentally, we might decrease the regret. For example, increasing our health can contribute to increase our satisfaction mentally. In these days, lots of people are suffering from diseases. Nevertheless, we can eat as much as we want, almost anything we want. Therefore, if we can improve our health, people won't eat too much and stop the food loss. However, if we could do that, the problem will not exist. The third factor is spreading renewable energy. If we can generate electricity without the emission of carbon dioxide, we can realize the sustainable society. However, there are some problems like the construction of hydroelectric power stations affects the fishes which cannot move as they want because of this obstacle of the plants. To conclude, there are many factors to realize sustainable society. However, what we found from the discussion is that we need to know what is the disturbance making the factors not working so that we can eliminate them.
As a conclusion part, I would like to reflect on our discussion during the summer conference. Before the conference, we set the 3 discussion topics and plan to exchange, break, and reconstruct our values. For that, we focused on 3 topics and tried to challenge others' values thoroughly. In the summer conference, all delegates joined the discussion more proactively than before, and we got to know many opinions and aspects. For example, some people think imbalance should be fixed urgently, and the others don't think so because it is a tentative problem and will be solved gradually. Those different opinions reflected their thoughts and values, and it was interesting to think about the gaps. Also, we were able to challenge others' values by asking questions or stating objective opinions intentionally. However, we couldn't deepen the topics enough in the limited time. To use time more effectively, we should have shared opinions before the RT meeting, but that was a little hard considering time zone differences. Also, though many opinions and ideas were shared, we couldn't make a clear conclusion by taking account into them. Based on this reflection, we need to clarify our values more and make efforts to achieve our goals until the winter conference.